I'm Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama.
Hannah Clancy Thompson.
Work wife.
Extraordinaire.
All right. So we today are doing a little special thing that's part of a series, but you don't need to watch them contiguously or anything like that. So we're covering some of the Washington Business Journal's predictions from the 2006-7
Winter edition.
What their 2020 vision was. We know we're a little bit late, but some stuff happened in 2020. We couldn't be here. So anyway, I don't think that we knew at the point in time that this came out that we were going to have like a housing crash and then a pandemic, but here we are. And so they made a bunch of predictions for what was going to happen around the metro area, and now we're actually looking at them to see what's the reality, what actually transpired.
Transportation.
Oh God, you're so weird. So this is where Annie ate it. So my book did survive 15 years, except it didn't survive Annie the Corgi. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I've held on to this for many, many years so that one day I could do this video about it. I don't know. I never plan on doing a video. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about
transportation.
So we've talked already about the economy and population. We talked about the densification, the city getting more dense and where they're going to put all the people. Now we're going to talk about how we're going to get the people around from place to place.
Right.
So their first prediction, this was a bold one. They said Greater Washington will be more great. The entire metro area, in their wise estimation, was that it was going to extend from Hagerstown all the way down to Richmond, as far west as the 81 corridor, and that we would call this one whole giant metro area. Reality?
Make Greater Washington great again?
I guess. How could you quote a skiff of a...
Because he's not president.
Well.
So the ICC, which is also Maryland's Route 200, the Intercounty Connector, is a 19-mile toll road. So this connects basically Gaithersburg over to Laurel, one of Maryland's most controversial road projects. The construction began 60 years after they first gave it approval.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be part of the Outer Beltway at one point. So, yeah.
So it started back in 2007. It was completed in 2014. And basically, it connects from PG County over across Montgomery County so that people don't have to come all the way down into CEC, go around 495 and hop back up another road from, like, say, 270 to 95 or 295. Now you can just cut across the county.
You can. I've never been on it during rush hour, so I can't speak to what it looks like during morning or afternoon rush hour. But every time I am on it, I'm the only car there.
Oh, it gets a little bit busier than that, but it's great. Don't speed, though. There's lots of cops.
Totally. And if you speed through any of the Easy Pass tools, Easy Pass will send you a letter that says if you do it again, we're revoking your Easy Pass for 30 days. That ain't cool. I don't like Big Brother watching me.
That's never happened to me before. How do you know that?
Because I drive fast. Anyway, they've also been promoting this thing about Baltimore being commutable from DC because there is a train that you can take. I don't really know that. I know that
Elon Musk.
Many people have hopped onto this. I have one client who said if I could live near Union Station in DC, then I can work in Baltimore with ease.
Yeah.
All right, number 2, transit-oriented development. So the prediction was more of the same as the living where you work, except that this focus is more on private developers who were going to work in part with Metro to develop areas identified by the Metro as places for them to develop property. The reality is that many of the identified Metro stations on the east were on the eastern part of the DC area, and this plan has now been pushed out to 2035, according to the Prince George's County Park and Planning website. So that has not happened yet. But still potentially possible.
Well, we should talk about the Silver Line.
Okay, so you want to talk about the Silver Line? Let's go ahead.
Well, the Silver Line, the phase 1 opened in 2014. This is... And
Metro.
I had to write this down because I don't know anything about Virginia. Falls Church towards Reston, then Dulles, then Ashburn. So there was a lot of issues with the Silver Line construction. There's a lot of cracks in the concrete support, in the girders. It was poorly designed concrete walls. They had to be redone. Then there were delays because of COVID. And then there were budget impacts, of course. And so the last estimate was a July 2022 opening around the corner from now, but that's also been delayed, and now there's no new date given for the new tracks to open.
So the new tracks are going where though? Because it's already open.
Right.
Because the item was Tyson's will look like a real city, which, I mean, maybe, but cities are freaking walkable, and there's nothing walkable about Tyson's unless you want to get run over by a car.
Yeah. No, the like Falls Church to Reston area is built.
Yeah.
But going out towards Dulles and then further onto Ashburton is phase 2 that's coming. So
Okay.
phase 1 is open.
Yeah, because you can't get to Dulles right now on Metro. You have to take a bus or something when you get to the end of the line.
Right. So basically they opened the beginning of the Silver Line, and now they need to get the rest of it. And I know that for everybody who doesn't really go to Virginia but eventually has to travel to Dulles, does want that to happen, because then you can hop on the Metro and get into the city.
Right.
So that, but they've just had concrete problem after concrete problem. And you'd think that after they had the concrete problems the first time that they would have realized how to do it better.
Like called in an engineer or two.
But it didn't get any better. So they now are no longer giving it dates because obviously it's laughable.
Just DC.
And so we don't have a new date, but it was supposed to be next month.
All right, the next one was that you'll love purple. This is not a Baltimore Ravens reference, which people in this area might think. Mm-hmm. It is about the Purple Line Metro. Hannies, it went right through your backyard almost. Want to talk to us about that?
I do. Do you know that it was originally called the Bi-County Transitway?
She's so ridiculous. She really loves Maryland. If she could marry the state of Maryland, she would. You'd be like, Maryland?
I chose it like a spouse.
Do you take Hannah as your lawfully wedded state? I do.
I've been in a committed relationship to Maryland longer than my first marriage.
Maryland is Stan. That's what I call it.
So the Purple Line is a 14-mile transit line between New Carrollton and Bethesda. So it's not a metro. We're calling it the Purple Line. It's not the Silver Line. The Silver Line is a metro. And so they got a really nice equity bump for if you live near the Silver Line. I think it was like 25%. People got a nice big bump. But with the Purple Line, it's not an actual metro. It is a light rail. So
what's the difference?
So think light rail, think like a streetcar. It's not like a metro. It's not underground on a track. And light rails, they have less power, so they can't like go up big hills and whatnot, things like that. It's like just a completely different car system. But because it's going to connect people from PG County over to Montgomery County and hit some of the red lines and things like that, we're going to connect from the orange line at New Carrollton over towards the red line in Silver Spring and then over again to Bethesda. This is going to basically connect these communities, and a lot of people are really excited about it, but some people, like Chevy Chase area, are not so excited about it. Basically, there was a lot of resistance from residents that live over this way. There was a lot of court cases and drama that ensued where basically the court system had to get involved and say that construction could continue, because these court cases ran in after we had already started seeing utilities being moved and all of that. But the original contractor then pulled out of the project, and then we got a new contractor, so we've gotten a new predicted date of delivery for the fall of 2026.
Wow.
I'm excited about the Purple Line. It's a few minutes from my house. It's going to stop at my local grocery store, which is like 3 minutes from my house.
Well, that leads nicely into the next prediction, which was you'll get where you need to go. Mm-hmm. They said that the DC area will be abound with transportation options, streetcars, Silver Line, Purple Line, high occupancy toll lanes, new HOV lanes. A good bit of this happened. The streetcar did become a reality. So did those metro lines that we just talked about and the toll lanes. They did forget to mention specifically that they were going to make I-66 into a toll road during peak time. And there's actually no way you can opt to not do the toll road, which is different than like the Beltway where you can get onto express lanes, but you pay more as opposed to just riding along with everybody else that's stuck in traffic.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I know about Virginia is 66 is a nightmare.
You're ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So 66 is akin to the Long Island Expressway if anybody is from New York and has been on the Long Island Expressway. It does not matter what time, day or night you get on that thing, it is bumper to bumper traffic. I don't even know where these people are all going or coming from. Mm-hmm. The next one is you will hop aboard streetcars. They actually made fun of this. They said we should just bring back the horse and buggy. And they pointed out that DC got rid of the streetcar for good reason. Yes, But the reality is that right now there's just one streetcar that runs along H Street. The 2006 prediction mentioned that Anacostia and Adams Morgan would also potentially have streetcar routes. They didn't mention anything about H Street. I guess they didn't believe H Street was ever going to turn from a great place where you could most definitely get jumped into a bustling corridor that it is today. But H Street was rough back in 06.
Anacostia, the streetcar for phase 1, that was supposed to be completed back in 2011. And so that's why it was something that was talked about in this 2006 model, because construction was started, but then they never actually completed it, and it was never put into use. So they spent a lot of money and they did build some things, but it was never functional. But the Anacostia residents weren't pushing for it. They didn't really want it, and so then H Street ended up becoming a higher priority, and so then the H Street streetcars, which you can't say 5 times fast, opened in 2016. And I looked up ridership because I was just curious. It was in 2021, the ridership was 285,000 people.
What's that, for the whole year?
So, in summary, transportation, it's a big thing. There's a lot of new transportation things that we're discussing. I mean, people are talking about whether or not we should widen 495, whether or not we should widen 270. That's going to have a big impact on housing because they're going to have to, obviously take existing houses and demolish them in order to do this. So there's a lot of consternation right now about this issue and whether or not we should do it. Hogan's been pushing for it. This is something that he's supporting, but his term limit is up and he's going to be out, so maybe we'll see a big change. We don't know.
Yeah, it's weird too that what they didn't mention in the whole, like, Greater Washington will be more great, and they mentioned, all the areas. They didn't mention out to the beaches either. And so they're widening a lot of the roads that go out to Rehoboth and Bethany because they get so much DC traffic that heads out there on the weekends and in the summers. So I don't necessarily know that I'd ever consider that part of the metro area, so I think they were fine to not include that, but it's absolutely like a vacation place for like such a huge percentage of people that are in the DC area who go there regularly. Well, that's that. So that's the transportation, that's the changes, the predictions.
What did you think? Do you think they did good?
Who, on their predictions?
Yeah.
I think they played it safe. Obviously, you can't predict nobody predicted September 11th, right? Nobody predicted a pandemic. And I think they played it safe a little bit in a way and sort of went with like, well, here's what we know is being talked about and what's on the books. But I think that there could have been like some more thinking outside of the box, right? In terms of densification. Like I think they overshot it, pandemic or not, on office rents being $100 a foot. I think that, what we're seeing now is like a company like Amazon that announced they were coming here. They bought their own buildings. Like they're not paying anybody $100 a foot. They're going to own their own place. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that they potentially didn't consider. And I think that DC finally now, it seems like in the last few years, is getting its I don't know, people like, Pittsburgh on the Potomac was all of us probably. And I think now we're finally getting to a place where this is a city and like a force to be reckoned with for things other than just politics.
Yes. I mean, we're seeing that with some of these big companies trying to move into our backyard.
Yeah, Boeing's coming here, I think. Mm-hmm. Like Google's here, Amazon's here.
Yeah, second headquarters. I mean, people went crazy in Northern Virginia, and the housing market really got impacted by that. Yep. So one company makes a big announcement, and it can change everything.
The phones all start ringing.
Right.
People want to buy stuff. So anyway, that's that. I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. This is the Clance, as I call her, also the work wife.
The Clance. Hannah Clancy Thompson.
And our contact info is coming next.